This is the Marathon Handbook Podcast. I'm your host, Michael, and I'm joined, as always, by Alex here, Katelyn Tocci. Gang, we're going to talk all about cadence. We're going to, are we dispelling myths? I'm not sure. Curious to hear your points. I want to know your cadences. Not right now. Don't give it away. But what side of 180 are you on? Are you a 180 person? Do you believe in 180 steps per minute? We're going to unpack that in great detail in this podcast. And it is predicated upon a question that we got in last week's mailbag episode, the Great Extravaganza, the marathon of talking that we did. And we had a couple questions left over that were really good. We did not order them in terms of any sort of hierarchy. It was literally how they came in. So we're going to take those questions on today and get them done. Because next week, team, we're all going to be in Chicago together.
Yes.
Coming up. So we're going to be in Chicago as of, I think, Thursday. Katelyn, you're not in until Thursday night because you've got to travel from the far corners of the earth. And Alex and I have to get on a plane, and like the trip to the airport is going to take longer than the flight. So
jealous.
Yeah. If we had a boat, we could probably get there faster across the lakes. But yeah, so we're all going to be together in Chicago. We're going to do at least a shakeout run the informal shakeout run. We've extended it out to you, the listener, viewer. Got a lot of emails already, and this is the opportunity right now. In fact, you know what? We'll wait right now. You guys don't have anywhere else to go right now. We could just
Of course
pause for a couple minutes. Okay, so if you're listening right now and you're like, hey, I'm going to be in Chicago, that'd be fun to do like a shakeout run with the crew, or maybe also hang out while we do a live recording of our podcast at a little venue as well, maybe both. Let us know if you want to join us. Podcast at marathonhandbook.com. Just put us on pause right now. We got nowhere to go. We'll continue to wait around in your iPhone right now as you go and email us, and let us know if you're game to join us. I think we're gonna do it at some point on the Friday. Looking at probably Friday afternoon, trying to be very sensitive to everyone's running plans. Obviously, you're there to not run a million shakeout runs. You're there to run the Chicago Marathon and to do your best. So we want to cater that sort of experience to you. But we're thinking of putting together a nice little informal run. Maybe we'll buy you a cup of coffee or whatever beverage you enjoy afterwards. And I've whipped up something special that I have not shown to you yet, that as long as if the delivery shows up on time, we'll have as a giveaway in Chicago. I am quite proud of it. I think it's neat. And as long as it turns out well, hopefully you'll think it's neat as well. That's the tease for a potential giveaway.
It's very Alex, Chicago. Can I get one?
It's very Chicago is all I'll say.
And yes, you both get one as long as you show up and you're one of the first number of people before. It is a limited item. So as long as you don't show up at the end, you get one. And so we're doing that. So we're going to do at least a run, and maybe we'll do a little combo run live recording, or maybe we reverse it so that not everyone's like sitting around sweaty for 45 minutes while we talk our faces off. But we're going to figure something out. Let us know if you want to join. It'd be awesome if you did. Podcast at marathonhandbook.com. And as well, questions. If you've got questions for us, the questions are rolling in steadily. We get like a drip of a few questions a day. We love the questions. I feel like we need like a 1-800 hotline or something. We get urgent questions now. If your question is urgent, it's pressing, put it in the subject line, like all caps, urgent, : and then, I need help with this recommendation, whatever. And I feel like, like the email should go directly to Katelyn, and then she can just call you back right away.
Of course.
Actually, why don't you share your cell number right here, Katelyn?
Okay. Exactly. It's what's the country code? Yeah. No. Yeah. So we're getting a lot of questions, which is great, which is really cool. We're going to start incorporating a question or two, I think, into every episode just to make it fun and I like the interactive factor. Okay, so let's dig right into this here. We got a few that we're going to tackle first before we reveal whether or not we're good little runners and hit that 180 steps per minute or not. I have my theories already. I already know. I know what both of your cadences are. I just have a feeling.
Does he stalk us on Strava, Alex?
Totally.
That's why he knows.
He's seen me running by.
I'm always in the shadows. Okay, so first question is from Nathan. Nathan emailed this to us like just this morning before we hit record. We're recording this on Monday morning. And he used the urgent flag. It's like the bat symbol.
The bat signal.
The bat signal in the sky. Yes. Says, hey guys, running Chicago in 2 weeks, and after hearing so many great things about the Nike Vomero Plus, I pulled the trigger on a pair this past week. I am a slower, heavier runner and typically run in the New Balance 1080 V14s or the Asics Nova Blast 5. I ran in the Vomero for my long run on Saturday and could definitely feel some soreness in my leg muscles during the run that I don't normally have, and after the run also. I've since realized that the heel drop on these is a lot higher than what I'm used to. Do I still have enough time to get my legs to get used to these to run my marathon in? Or should I hold off on these shoes until after my marathon? Appreciate any help you might be able to give. You guys rock. See you in Chi-Town, because I believe Nathan emailed me previously and said that he is going to attend whatever it is that we put together, and also told me to get my ass on Instagram. Working on it, Nathan. Working on it.
Good luck with that, Nathan.
Yes. So, what do you guys think you should do?
So, okay. Nathan, I think you should park the Vomero Pluses for this build. The reason is I think we're past the point in our world of today, but also in your training build, of breaking shoes in. That's not really a thing anymore. I've come to decide about shoes after wearing them just once. Like back in the day, you'd have to wear the shoes a few times because the materials were not as good. And then after a couple of weeks, maybe your legs would stop hurting. Then you'd tell yourself, oh, okay, this might be a shoe for me. These days, shoes are too good. There's too much out there to put yourself through that. If I had to guess why your legs hurt, I'll muddle the question for you, because like you pinpointed the heel to toe drop. Could be that. Could be a few other things. Like it could be that the high stack height doesn't really agree with you. It could be that the foam is, because the Vomero Plus has a whole lot of Nike Zoom X foam. It's a more powerful shoe than the other two that you've mentioned. And it's possible that it's somewhat propelling you to run faster. I'd be curious to know your paces between the run with the Vomero and then your regular easy runs. Mm-hmm. And maybe that you're not quite used to because the shoes are a bit more powerful. It could be a range of things, but I think what's important here is to stick to what you know. If you've had success with the Nova Blasts or the 1080 V14s, go with that. And then maybe next build, if you're in the mood to explore other shoes, then start trying something else. Because I feel like you tried the Vomero Pluses because you probably wanted more out of your shoes, right? That's why you explored something else. That's a good idea. There's a lot, I will tell you this, there's a lot faster out there than the 1080 V14s and the Nova Blast 5s. But in terms of exploration, I'd say park them for now and maybe go back to a different type of shoe. Say not even the Vomero Pluses next time, and see if something else might feel faster but also as comfortable for you. And as far as recommendations, listen, if we meet you in Chicago, I'd love to see your stride. I'm not a podiatrist or a physiotherapist, but maybe we can chat about it.
Oh, Alex, you're like, okay. All right, Nathan, let's run up and down Michigan Avenue a little bit here. And I'm going to get some slow-mo, 240 frames a second. We're going to analyze the gait. No.
Yeah, we're going to do none of that, but I'd be curious to talk to you to see what you've liked more in the past.
Yeah, completely agree, Alex. And I think that's because I'm pretty conservative as well as a coach. I mean, you're 2 weeks out. All the time that
Yes.
you've put into training for Chicago, I wouldn't do anything new. And it worries me that your legs are feeling really sore. Could also be that you're probably coming off your peak and that you have a lot of mileage on you and now you're going to taper. So you're going to feel great for the race. That might have a hand in it, but just be a little bit more conservative, stick with what you know, and just have a really great race. And then start playing with all the shoes you want after you complete the marathon.
Let's go 3 for 3 here. I think if it ain't broke, don't fix it. I totally get, Nathan, why you have been drawn to the Vomero Plus. First of all, I'm a huge fan of the Vomero line. I have sung the praises of the vanilla, straight up, regular old Vomero 18 that Nike came out with earlier this year. I think it's one of the best everyday trainers that is on the market, period, and probably one of the best shoes Nike's ever made, quite frankly. The Plus and the Premium, which I've run in, are even more trampoline-y, even like that Zoom X foam you describe, Alex, is very bouncy, very plush, as the old word goes, and can take some time to get used to. I found with the Vomero Premium, I found my feet were working a lot more than I'm used to them working because they are so soft and like there's so much like instep. Like when you step down them, you're putting so much force into the ground and there's so much give and then return. It's a very strange feeling and it takes some time to get used to. Say hold on to those pretty shoes until after the marathon and then see if you like them or not. I took a quick glance at the drop ratio of the Nova Blast and the 1080. Nova Blast is an 8 mil drop. 1080 is a 6 mil drop. And the Vomero Plus is a 10 mil drop. So there is a difference specifically between the New Balance shoe and the Nike shoe. But 8 and 10 is not that big. I think it's probably, Alex, you're onto something. I think it's probably the material is more what he's responding differently to than the heel to toe drop ratio on this one. As a side note, I did my long run on a Saturday, which I don't normally do. And it was a beautiful morning. It's very nice out. And of course, it's getting very close to marathon season. And I ran the main artery, like the main running path that a lot of people run in Toronto, where I live. And all the people were out. Everyone decided to run at the same time. It was like 9:30 by the time I got down there, 9:30 on a Saturday, and it's 70 degrees and sunny, and everyone is out running. I do this thing with my my closest running pal to kind of pass, especially when we're doing a long run, to pass the time. Is we'll do like in betting odds, we'll do over under, and we'll pick a number to where the betting line would be at. We do a couple of different things. And so this time around, we did over under number of super shoes we see during our long run, over under number of vests, like running vests. And then because it was over like 20 degrees, set at 70 degrees, it's like over under number of dudes with tarps off.
Okay.
Blew through all three numbers. Okay. Like crazy. Like we stopped counting the number of super shoes, which was really interesting because it was just like a Saturday. And one shoe I noticed, and this is not a super shoe, of course, noticed a lot of Vomero Pluses out there. A lot. And a lot of the new Asics shoes.
Oh, yep. The Mega Blast, the Sonic Blasts are everywhere. I can vouch for that.
Yeah,
Did you encounter any triple threats? Men with tarps off, running vest, and super shoes?
No, actually, that's the trifecta. That's a special soul right there. But I did see some tarps off, and I did see some shirtless with vest. That's just like chafing waiting to happen.
Yeah, no, that's a terrible idea.
Yeah, so much body glide. and I definitely saw some vests and some super shoes, which okay. It's a choice. Yeah, but the Vomero Plus, very popular shoe, clearly looks great. Love the loud pink. The loud colors are really cool. There's like a lime green color that's really cool. I see the desire to want to run the shoe. Also, like if you're not interested in the super shoe, I see the draw to like something big and bouncy and powerful like this shoe. But Nathan, I would say maybe short term, just go with like a refresh on maybe the Nova Blast. Just get a fresh pair of those and run your Chicago Marathon in those, something like that. I would go that route. That sound like a good idea? All right, Nathan, we're going to see you in Chicago. Psyched for that.
So last January, 2 weeks before the Houston Half Marathon, my coach made me do what he called the impossible workout. 30 minutes at threshold pace, followed by 1 kilometer of kicking, even faster. All of it at half marathon pace, which for me is about 4:56 per mile.
You had to slide that one in there, didn't you, sir?
My point is that running on frozen roads near my house in Toronto to do this workout sounded daunting, and going to some gym and running on a regular treadmill sounded even worse. Luckily, Michael had a Wahoo Kicker Run treadmill stashed in his home in northern Toronto, and so I took advantage of that last winter.
So that's why you kept coming over to my house all the time.
I mean, I also came for the company.
Sure.
And mainly for the Kicker Run's run-free mode, where the treadmill uses sensors to adjust its carpet speed so that it can respond to your running speed in real time. So it responds to you, and not the other way around. Now that was helpful for the workout's kick portion, so I could accelerate naturally without having to worry about pressing buttons all the time. The treadmill also comes with the lateral tilt feature, which will simulate the angles of running on a natural terrain. So every step is not the same, which is a good thing. And it's kind of like if you're running outdoors. And bonus, the Kicker Run connects with a laundry list of third-party apps, including Strava, the Wahoo Run app, and Zwift, so you can run free in Watopia.
It's quiet, simple, and effective. The treadmill follows you and not the other way around. It's available in the US, the UK, Germany, and Austria. And now you can get a free Headwind smart fan worth $319 when you order the Kicker Run from Wahoo Fitness using the promo code MHRUN. That's all one word, MHRUN. Take our word for it, as well as the professional athletes that use it, including ultra runner David Roche, triathlete Chelsea Sodero, Olympic gold medalist Cole Hawker.
And now, me!
Okay, let's get to the show. Okay, next one. It's another nice email we got. I'll just paraphrase it really quickly here. But Laren in Irving, Texas, sent us a quick note that like this email subject line was so sad. Which is just like, so sad what? Like this is, and I've realized that she is so sad.
Yeah.
And so we just want to give her kind of a shout out and a little bit of encouragement. So basically her running story in a snapshot, I'll paraphrase here. A year ago, and this is great. A year ago, her husband, she would probably describe herself a year ago as like not a runner, right? Because she was saying that she was running a couple times a week in her Orange Theory fitness class for cardio. And her husband was the one who was running. He had signed up for the local 10K. It's an Oktoberfest 10K about a year ago. And he was not able to run the race. So in principle of not wasting the money, she had the bib transferred to her and took it on. It's like, let me see if I can do a 10K, which is a cool thing to do.
Challenge yourself. Yep.
Yep. And little did she know, she's already showing like a classic runner trait of like being a little stingy and being like, I don't want to waste that money. So I'm going to do the 10K, even though I don't do 10Ks. Little did she know she's already like revealing herself to be a runner in training. So she jumped into the 10K. She surprised herself. It was the first time she ever ran outside, which is cool. It's like a whole new world. It's like coming out of Plato's cave. You're like, what is this world? And also the longest distance she ever ran. And I think she surprised herself, and then she realized, she says, I realized why all you running sickos do what you do, and was addicted immediately. It's like, yes.
Welcome to our world.
Exactly. It's like, what is it? Red pill and blue pill. Is that the two pills?
Oh, we need a pill color for runners.
The red, yeah, it's like
I think black pill is already something else, but it could be for the black toenails.
No, not that.
That's something else.
Need a nice like a happy pill that stays away from the politics of the pilling.
It's the yellow pill. Yeah, there we go.
Yellow.
Okay,
Yellow pill.
That's it.
The yellow pill.
That's it.
There you go.
Yellow is happiness, sunshine, warmth. Yeah, I love it.
Katelyn,
you discover that you've actually been a runner all along. You didn't even know it, and I think this is what's happening with Lauren here. And then she said our podcast has helped her a lot along the way, and she's learned a lot in the last year. Okay, but fast forward, we're a year later from the origin story of her becoming a runner, and she's got the same 10K coming up this Saturday, and she's looking forward to it because she really loves the race, but she has run into some issues, some SI joint issues, and is experiencing quite a bit of pain related to weightlifting, actually, a class, not running. So our hands are clean here, guys. We're good. We can blame something else on this SI joint issue, but nevertheless, SI joint is going to be seriously triggered by running, right? Like, I mean, it's going to be triggered by everything. It's going to be triggered by existing. And I believe she even said that she's like having a tough time sleeping at night because it's so painful, which I can relate to. I've been there before. Mr. Sear, you are just getting over an SI joint issue, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
So it happens to the best of us. Basically, her question is, should I run this race, even if I run it a little bit slower and take it easy, or should I skip it? And then also her greater kind of rumination here is that she's like really bummed by this, and she's really upset about it. Hence the email subject line, so sad. Like, she's so sad. And she points out that, like, she's like, I got to take it into consideration. She's got 2 toddlers. She runs a business. She's got bigger problems in life than, not being able to run for a bit. But still, I think she's experiencing this thing that we all feel once we become so invested in this sport and lifestyle of crazy old running. First of all, Aaron, you are a running sicko. You are one of us now. So, and this is a good problem to have. It means you care, right? It means you care about what you're doing. I would say, what do you got? I would say skip the run. I would say skip the race. I know it's painful to say that, but I would say skip the race. Do you both agree?
I mean, I would say if you're in a lot of pain or you can make anything worse, I wouldn't run the race because I wouldn't want to risk needing to take more time off. And maybe Alex and Zach can let us know a little more about the details of this issue exactly. But I would say, because I feel like in the email it was mentioned that I maybe should go to a physical therapist. So I'm assuming that maybe she hasn't gone yet. I would say I think it's really, really important to see a professional about whatever sort of injury you have, especially if you're in that much pain and you can't even sleep well. That's going to start affecting everything. So I would say, absolutely, number one, go get it checked out so you can get whatever the road to recovery protocol is. So as fast as possible, you can get back to running. But if you're in that much pain, I don't think it would be very much fun to go ahead and run the race. Of course, if afterward you're going to feel even worse and it's going to take you even longer to recover. So I would say my number one piece of advice is get it checked out, get on the road to recovery, and figure out what you need to follow to be able to take the steps to do so. And I think maybe I can swing this and pass it right over to Alex, because if he's been having the same issues, maybe you can already kind of give some tips, Alex, on what you had to go through to get over your injury.
Oh, Lauren, you and I have 2 things in common. The first thing is an SI joint that just hijacked your fall at the worst possible time. Our timelines are even similar. My goal was to run the Cardiff Half Marathon and run a massive personal best and shock my own self. And I knew I had it in me. And the SI joint problem happened right at the wrong time. I'm not going to Cardiff. I'm skipping my race. I'm upset about it, but I know that's what I have to do. The second thing we have in common, you and I, is a constant questioning of why is it that running can upset us so much when things don't go so well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a runner for many years. I haven't been able to shake that negative feeling of missing out on your goal because of an injury, though I've gotten better at it because of one thing. One thing's really helping me, and it's having a feeling of control. The worst that I feel mentally is when I feel like I'm forcing myself to run, when I feel like I don't have the choice to do this race. And I've done this before. I've run through a lot of pain only to wake up the next day and be more in pain. And that's when my mental health towards running is worse. People don't like to be in pain. And so, Laren, here are my 2 cents. I think you should skip this race. And I'll back this up by talking about my own SI issue and timelines, although those are varying from person to person, but I will back this up. I think you should skip the race. And I would bet that when you choose to do so, you will have a moment of grief. You'll be upset about it, but you'll get over your grief faster, because then the next thing you realize is that you're on the path to recovery. And soon things are going to be better for you, and you're acting in accordance to your own goals. Racing would not be in accordance to your own goal to get healthy. In fact, you're probably setting yourself back. It's tough. It's tough to miss a race. I get it. I've missed some before and I hate it so much. But the feeling of feeling a little bit better the next day and seeing yourself get closer to where you want to go is priceless and is stronger even than the accomplishment of finishing a race while being in pain. Now, that's the acute question that you have to deal with. Should I race or should I not? You're dealing with an SI issue, and that might linger on a little bit longer. You said it's 2 weeks. It's pretty acute. For comparison, and again, SI can be a lot of different things. It could be a muscle strain back there. You can have a bit of a nerve impingement. It could be a number of things. It's like shin splints, right? That's a catch-all term for perhaps a stress fracture, perhaps a muscle strain in your lower legs. So take it with a grain of salt, but I do think this could be helpful. My injury took about 3 weeks of no running. Now I'm starting week 5 and I'm running a little bit. So in week 4, the pain got a lot better, was able to do some little runs, and it seems that on the day-to-day, things are improving for me to the point where I feel as though a week from now, I'll be back to doing regular runs. I do see a light at the end of the tunnel. This isn't a career ender, man. Like you will be back. Okay. One thing that's helped, I've been seeing a physiotherapist, and the cool thing about injuries is there's one thing that seems to help along any type of injury. So even if you don't know if it's necessarily muscle or nerve or imbalance or what's going on, there's one thing you can do that tends to help, and that's trying to keep your inflammation down. That helped me in the first couple days. Just doing the small day-to-day things to keep myself from getting inflamed. What makes me inflamed? Lack of sleep, eating an excess amount of sugar, drinking a lot of alcohol. I try to avoid these things. Don't have to live like a monk. Just try to have a regular bedtime. Try to move around in the day. Try to do as much as you can movement-wise without making things worse. And if that's going for a walk, so be it. That's better than sitting on the couch. I've made the mistake before of just trying to sit on the couch and wait out an injury, only to find myself 2 months later feeling worse because my body had weakened. Try to move around a little bit. All these little things to keep your inflammation down. Don't pop painkillers. Like, that's not what I mean. Like, that also can get inflammation down, but also have side effects from that. So try to do the very natural human things to get inflammation down. And I hope, and I would guess that in maybe 1 week, maybe 2 weeks, in a few weeks' time, that pain will subside. Also, from what I know about SI joints, avoid sitting a lot. I'm standing right here in this podcast. Like, if you're a very avid listener, you might notice that my background has changed a little bit from today and last episode to the episodes prior. I used to sit during these, and now I'm standing. I think it's a little thing that I could do to just improve my mobility back there and strengthen my legs. So little interventions, and I think you will see some improvement down the line. But right now, forget the race. It sucks, but work towards something bigger and better.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, part of running, and something we've talked about quite a bit in previous podcasts, is like the dangers of those sort of extrinsic goals And I guess in a weird way, a race is an extrinsic goal too, because you're like, I want to go have this achievement, cross the finish line, get the medal, and bring it back to process. And part of this process and part of the process of being a runner sometimes is working through not running, working through injury, working through getting yourself back to being able to run on the regular again. And that's this, it's the suckiest part of running, but it's part of running, right? And I think all your recommendations are really good. I think the very first step, definitely, Lauren, is to go talk to a physiotherapist, get a really detailed analysis done so that you get a really good sense of exactly what it is that's ailing you, because that will empower you more. There's something really like relieving when you go and like talk to somebody about it, and then they're just like, okay, this is what's happening and this is what we can do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And this is the timeline you're faced with. It's just dealing with those realities, right? And then work towards it. Don't give up on this. Keep listening to the podcast. You don't have to actually be running and listen to our podcast every week. So, let us know how it goes, and maybe plot if you want to motivate yourself, start hunting around for other races, and maybe create a timeline for like, okay, it's going to take me maybe a month, maybe 6 weeks to get fully rehab back into running again and feeling better again. And maybe I can run a race in, January or something like that. And like you put it on the calendar so that you're motivated and that you keep yourself committed to it as well. I love that email. And I
because we've all been there.
Yep.
We've all been there.
Or expert advice, better yet, Lauren, get your husband to sign up for another race next year and then once again take his bib.
That's right. Exactly.
You'll do it for free.
There you go.
Exactly. Good call. Okay. We're going to take a quick break. And when we get back from the break, we will talk. We've got a couple of more little questions to take on. And we're going to, of course, take on the big looming question of the week, which is, what's the deal with cadence and running? We will be right. All right, and we're back. Got another question here that we didn't get to last week that I really wanted to get to from Patrick. He says he's 59 years old, stumbled into running 5 years ago through an app called iFit. He says, I've been running marathons for 3 years and I hit a wall this year. It's been strange. Could you talk about quantity versus quality? I was running 3 marathons and 4 halves. I think he was suggesting 3 marathons, 4 halves per year. Geez, I hope it's only 3 marathons and 4 halves per year, not like per season.
That's a lot.
Per season.
Yeah, per month.
Because then we have our answer.
Right.
Then just, there you go. Don't. And let's move on. Muscle fatigue clearly is a thing, but I feel great. What are your thoughts? So I think to unpack this a little bit further, sounds like Patrick is running 3 marathons and 4 halves, let's say, per year.
Mm-hmm.
Still a lot when you think about it. And then he's now struggling with muscle fatigue, although overall, other than muscle fatigue's feeling good, but feels like he's sort of hitting a wall in terms of like performance and feeling strong in the races and that sort of thing. Katelyn, Coach Katelyn.
Coach Katelyn's corner. Here we go.
There we go. What say you to Patrick? If he was one of your athletes, if he's like, I am just feeling muscle fatigue like crazy. Here's what I've been up to. What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, logging a lot of miles and running all these races builds a lot of endurance, but the body can kind of only handle so much before the fatigue starts to accumulate. So I would say that there are a couple things that you could do. First is probably maybe choose like 1 big or 2 big marathons a year, a spring marathon and a fall marathon. Maybe not do 3. So do 2 cycles instead of 3 big cycles, and maybe also do maybe 2 halves instead of 4. So you could think about your racing schedule, or at least have, just one be a really big A goal. So that's the one that you focus on the most. I think so. First, you can look at it racing wise and think about whittling that down just a tad, but also take a look at your training. Sometimes, not sometimes, I think everyone, as we get a little older as well, we need to really focus on recovery. I know just my running over the past 10 years has changed a lot, and I've had to put a lot of other pieces of the puzzle together to feel good all the time and to reduce my fatigue. So it could be things like, I don't know if you're doing a lot of strength training, but I've had to up my strength training. And I think that's extremely important for us. And that can help reduce your muscle fatigue while you're running. So maybe 2, even to 3 short strength training sessions a week could really, really help combat that fatigue. You could also take a look at your mileage in like overall, and perhaps think about reducing it just a little bit and focus a little more on recovery. You could do that in a couple of ways. You could maybe add a day or two or a day of cross training instead of one of your runs to see if that helps out. I've had athletes where we've done that and we've incorporated a day or two of cross training instead of that day or two of like an easy run. And that has helped a lot kind of reduce a bit of impact, but you're still working out, you're still, improving your endurance and your stamina by doing these other cardio sessions. So that's something else that you could think about, maybe shifting your approach a teeny bit in the training and lowering a little bit of mileage, and then keep those quality sessions, your speed work and that sort of thing. If your body handles it really well, maybe you'll feel much better during those speed work sessions, kind of reducing a little bit the overall mileage. So then you can run really hard on those hard days, continue to get faster, continue to feel really great without overly fatiguing your body. So I'd say those would be kind of like my top, and listen to your body. Right? If you need that extra day off, if you need another day of recovery or another day of cross training, make sure that you take it so you don't overdo it and feel like you're constantly hitting that fatigue wall.
Yeah. Patrick, I'd say there's bad news and there's a lot of good news. The bad news is once you're 5 years into running, it does sometimes happen that you plateau for a year. In your first few years, you will improve just by showing up. Now, the more you get into it, the harder it gets. Here's the whole kettle of pieces of good news. Many of them Katelyn just listed off. I think there are some other things that you can do. So you race a lot. You strike me as, okay, let's make this the word of the podcast, the running sicko. You strike me as a massive running sicko. You like races, don't you? Okay, so do I. Why don't you try a 10K or a 5K? Sometimes what I find helps in getting over a plateau is to try something a bit different. Sounds like you've done a lot of halves, a lot of fulls. Try something a little bit faster, challenge yourself in that sense, and perhaps down the road, that speed that you develop for 5K and also 10K helps you out in the full and gives you a little bit of extra juice. One more thing I want to mention, I always say this, get regular blood work done. I had a massive plateau when I was younger, and turns out I was anemic. I had low iron. And we actually touched on this in the last mailbag episode. Training with low iron is kind of useless. You'll see more gains by sitting down and having your iron pill with orange juice every day than you will by keeping on banging your head against the wall. Not saying that's the case with you. A lot of people just have plateaus because they've been at it for a few years, but it's good to check your bases. Just get regular blood work, check that off, and then move forward with all these recommendations.
Yeah. I agree with all of this. I think I would also ask myself, like, what are my paces at? Like when I'm going out for my quote unquote easy run, are you kind of running a little bit too much in that gray zone? Perhaps are you running some of your runs a little bit faster? I find muscle fatigue for me sets in quite a bit when I'm doing a lot of volume, and maybe I'm running a little quicker and I'm not recovering and I'm not taking my easy days easy. That's another one. I love Alex's recommendation of maybe take a season even and step back from the big stuff and focus on the different big stuff, which is getting those legs moving faster, which will require you to do some strength training 2 or 3 times a week, as Katelyn said. Great idea. Maybe mixing up, like you said, 1 day of easy running with a day of like lower impact stuff, swimming or cycling, for example. Still aerobic, still going to give you that same aerobic boost, but takes the load off of the pounding from from running on the roads, right? So, or maybe seek out some soft surfaces as well. I find I do that as much as possible. I try to run on soft surfaces. I try to run on trails instead of on the road, or even like I'm that weirdo who's like off the paved multi-use trail, and I'm running in that weird little dirt line that gets created over time by weirdos like me running right next to the paved trail. Do that instead. All these little things can help out. But shake it up a little bit. I'd say that would be the main recommendation. Okay. The big one. And this comes from Kurt in New Zealand. Way down. Have either of you been in New Zealand before?
Never.
I have not.
No. And at the end of this email, Kurt suggests that we come to his part of the world because New Zealand has a lot of races, great weather, and is obviously clearly a beautiful place to run. I have never been to New Zealand either. One of my closest running pals, has moved to New Zealand a couple of years ago, and we keep threatening to come visit him and run the very hilly Auckland Marathon. That will happen one day. Okay, so Kurt's a bit confused here. He feels like there's sort of like mixed messaging going on in the running world. This was specifically predicated on some of the content that we've been pushing out in the last couple of months. Our teammates at Marathon Handbook, Brady and Thomas, they do the excellent Run Long, Run Healthy podcast, which is sort of kicking back into gear again after a little summer hiatus. It's very sports science focused. Brady writes a great newsletter on Fridays for us, the Run Long, Run Healthy newsletter, which goes out every Friday morning, which Katelyn, you edit.
Mm-hmm.
That is excellent. And he dives deep on a sports science related topic or two every single week. And each episode of the podcast between Brady and his co-host Thomas, who's the founder of Marathon Handbook, is sort of fashioned around some of these talking points. It's always very interesting. They take in everything from like, should you only run in zone 2 to what are there benefits to taking creatine as a runner to, in this case, the concept of running slow or running in zone 2. And so Kurt's confused here because he's like, okay, there's a lot of talk about what a quote unquote good cadence is. And then there's a lot of talk about kind of 80-20 type stuff, running slow, zone 2 training. And he's struggling here because he's like, if I run at a good cadence, I'm not able to run at that slower pace. And then he goes into great detail, which I found very interesting, where he's talking about how he's sort of like figured out his cadences at different paces.
Which is wild.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
He goes as far as to say that he will go out for some runs and even races, and he will pre-program in a metronome with a certain pace in it that he wants to hit. And he listens to it on his headphones while he's running, like the tick of the metronome, so he can get his pacing correct. So,
yeah, that's a wild way to pace yourself. I've never even thought of that. I've never thought to pace myself with a metronome.
It's like a scene in a movie, right? Like the runner has just got just the tick of a metronome and is like trying to run to that tick. Like, yeah. Anyway, fascinating way to train, fascinating way to approach this. Kind of an inverse way, I think, to how a lot of people approach running. A neat science experiment to put yourself through. And it will be true that generally speaking, that your cadences will shift based on your paces. But his main confusion and frustration here in this email is basically he says that he feels like he doesn't quite understand how you can have a quote unquote good cadence. I think he's talking about the 180 steps per minute that has been drilled into all of our brains.
Mm-hmm.
That is the perfect cadence, the median cadence, the cadence we should all be aiming for as distance runners. How you're supposed to have this cadence, and then you're also supposed to be able to run easy for most of your miles. And then there's a lot of talk about like zone 2 heart rate. So it depends on the person. Your heart rate's all variable depending on your age and your gender and all these sorts of things, fitness levels and that kind of thing. But like generally that you should be running easy and also being able to run 180 steps per minute. Okay. So first things first.
What's our cadence?
What? Yeah. Okay. It's like,
boy,
show your hands. What's your typical cadence? Let's talk cadence here for a second here. Katelyn.
Okay, I just opened up my run from today because I thought, okay, today I did a really easy run. Okay. So my average cadence for a very easy run, like a recovery run, was 174 and max cadence 180. And I'm extremely happy with this because way back when and I know we're going to get into all of this and if it matters, if it doesn't matter, and I really don't even know if it still matters, but I remember that it has taken me like 10 years to get in the 170s. So I used to run, it would always be like 164, 165, 164.
Wow, okay, so you had
I'm actually glad I pulled up this data from today and I did it in a very easy run, not thinking about cadence, just to know what my real average cadence is on an easy run. So 174, I'm surprised. I'm happy with that.
I'm around that too. I tend to be just a tiny bit under 180. And as I pick up my pace, as is the case with most people, my cadence goes up a little bit. We made a video about cadence on this channel like months ago, and for some reason a lot of people are watching it right now, so I don't know if it's just the fall season coming up or people are getting interested in cadence. I would say cadence is kind of like a proxy or secondary measure to running. It's kind of like you're approaching your nutrition by saying you got to eat a lot of green things, eat a lot of greens. It doesn't mean go out and eat green M&Ms, right? It means go out and find green vegetables. It's
Why
kind of
not, Alex?
I love the green M&Ms.
It's my favorite M&M. The green M.
Wait, actually, now I'm saying, are there green M&Ms?
Yes, of course. They're my favorite.
There is a green M&M. There you go. But it's a secondary measure, right? Like I think something that becomes important when you're dealing with injury and you're trying to figure out what's up.
Mm-hmm. Am I overstriding? Okay, now let's look at cadence. Mm-hmm.
Or am I understriding? Like, what's happening here? Like, I think it seems that Kurt here is making cadence his primary measure of evaluation, where I think it should be, second or third or fourth. I think heart rate matters more, and then I think rate of perceived exertion matters more. I think precedent paces and knowledge of your paces, at least loosely, matters more. I think there are better ways to dictate how fast you should run than looking at your cadence. Because see, Michael, you're a pretty low cadence guy, I would say.
And you're a fast runner.
Yeah.
I have a long looping stride. I just looked at my long run from Saturday. Average cadence was 169, and that's actually kind of on the high side because I looked at a workout I did on Thursday. You'd think with the workout, because I'm moving a lot faster during my intervals, my average cadence was 162. So yeah. So and I will say this. This is like me. I'm just gonna get a little bit kind of self-indulgent and arrogant here. I've been told before I have a nice stride. And
you do have a nice stride. You do have a nice stride,
Alex. I was soliciting your compliment. I appreciate that. You've delivered. Thank you. I haven't been injured since 2013. So I've got a good strength. I've run a heck of a lot of miles in that time. I've run some pretty good races. I'm a decent runner. And that's my cadence.
And that cadence works for you. Yeah, that's the important
thing. Cadence works for me. And shortening up my stride and trying to hit 180 steps per minute, I have no idea what will happen. I don't think it will make me faster. I don't know if it would even injure me or not. It's just not how I run. And I don't care, quite frankly. I run the way I run, and I like the way I run, and it's done well for me. I'm a pretty efficient runner, all things considered. I actually have a pretty good running economy. So what I've got going on works for me. And I have a quote unquote low cadence that I'm sure someone who's obsessed with cadence would tell me to fix. So,
But I think that this is a very new way over the past few years. It's a very new way of looking at running form. I think before you wanted to have the perfect running form and you wanted to make all these changes, right? And we have some videos about running form with all of the things that you can think about. And I still think that today, if you're getting injured often, or you don't have really great running economy and you want to take a look at some of those things, well, give them a try and see if you can improve what you want to improve, especially if you're someone who's getting injured a lot. Then you do want to take a look at it. But usually, Michael, you already used it once this podcast. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like if you're running great, you're a really fast runner. You haven't been injured in over a decade. I mean, you think about that and you want to keep things the way that they are. So I would say if you're someone who's getting injured, you want to take a look at your mechanics and you want to take a look at it. You want to make sure you're not overstriding. Okay, maybe you want to shorten up that cadence. And the way that you do that is to be careful about it as well, right? You don't want to say, I'm going to go straight to 180 if your cadence is 162. What you want to do is you want to take these very small increments and you want to try, okay, if my cadence is 162, I'm going to go for 164 or 165. In these next runs, and very, very gradually, try to pump that up a little bit if you are working on it, because you don't want to do anything drastic.
I'll add to that too, and I think maybe we should just back it up one notch to talk about why 180, like where that number comes from.
Where does it come from? Exactly.
This isn't written in any type of. Well, I was going to say this isn't written in any type of running Bible, but it kind of is. But also, like, there's the running. You can question the regular Bible. You can question the running Bible. So
there you go. Katelyn's got it right there.
I've got it right
literally,
here.
Daniel's is running formula. Hey,
is this the Old or New Testament? I'm not sure which version of the
third edition.
Third edition. The New Testament of the running Bibles is Jack Daniel's running formula. Yeah.
And shout out to him, right? Because Jack Daniels is still very present in like modern day running literature. A lot of people have used his training plans and have found he's the VDOT guy. Like if you've heard of the term VDOT in terms of training paces, that's him. But he also had another little discovery about cadence that seemed to stand the test of time. So Jack Daniels was a coach already back in the 70s, and he conducted a little experiment, one researcher experiment where he watched the 1500 meter final at the 1976 Olympics and tried to count the number of strides that many of these athletes would take per minute. So supposedly he got a video of the thing. He wouldn't have been counting them all at the same time, but he'd go back and count at the steps per minute. And the average of a number of these finalists, probably all of them, I would guess, was roughly 180. And so now you can take that and say, well, if the best runners in the world run at a pace of 180, I should as well. But also you could look at it another way. You could say, well, that's a pretty small sample size, A. B, these runners are more experienced than pretty much all of us. And C, that was a long time ago. This part I don't know much about, but if shoe technology changes, that might change some things too. All that to say that 180 shouldn't be taken as gospel. 180 was the result of one small, very experimental study from pretty much 50 years ago now.
And it stuck as this like one of these big numbers in running that when you start to get into this sport and you start to approach running with a kind of a self-awareness and you start training, it's one of the first numbers that get thrown at you, like, what's your cadence? And then you do the thing, I'm sure we've all done it before, I've done it before, where it's like you run a watch for 60 seconds and you're like counting in your head, or you run for 10 seconds, you look 10 you're like, running along and you do like a 10-second count on your watch and you're counting how many steps, you're counting 1 foot or whatever. And you're trying to do the math to figure out whether or not you're hitting the magical 180 steps per minute. And it's an interesting thing that Daniels came up with this number, and then that stuck. 1,500 meter track runners at the absolute apex of the sport in the mid 1970s is very different than a like middle of the pack recreational marathon runner in 2025. Particularly, I don't even know what super shoes do to cadence, all sorts of different questions, right? And that's talking in a race environment, not even in an easy running environment, right? So I would say that your cadence, generally speaking, this is not a rule, but generally speaking, for each individual, each one of us, your cadence will go up as you run faster.
Mm-hmm.
So if I run a faster interval, I tend to see my cadence going up closer to 180 steps per minute. Never quite hits there for whatever reason, unless I'm doing like all out strides for, 10, 15, 20 seconds, then maybe I might see a tick above that. But yeah, I wouldn't worry so much about cadence. That's my feeling, at least.
Totally.
I've never really worried that much about cadence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
totally.
so.
I think like as much as we can talk about like zone to zone style training and its own limitations, I think that's better because you're aware of your zone type training and then you're aware of your cadence. If you have to choose between one of them, if you need that type of reminder while you're training, Kurt, I would go with the zones.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also sorry.
Oh, no, go on.
No, and if you, I wanted to kind of bring in the other part of it, but I don't know if we're there yet to talk about the run slow to run fast section.
Let's do it. Yeah,
yeah,
right. Because this was a layer cake of questions because he was kind of saying like, how can I perfect my cadence? How can I focus on cadence when my cadence is not aligning at all to this kind of dominating philosophy of running right now, where it's like run most of your runs relatively easy and relatively slowly, and perhaps in a certain heart rate zone of zone 2, which would be kind of like you're able to talk in full sentences and you're very calm and very comfortable and your heart rate's kind of ticking around like, I don't know, 120 beats per minute or something like that.
Yeah, because he mentioned that, well, I don't really like to do the run slow to run fast because my cadence will be low and I want to work on my cadence. So again, I think it's kind of the same sort of like I just wanted to suggest that it is really important to run those easy days really easy. And if you get caught up in the cadence, I mean, if we are thinking about our cadence, we're going to start running faster, just kind of naturally thinking about more steps per minute. We're going to get tired. We're going to get fatigued. At least that's what happens to me the days that I did practice cadence. And it's not something very sustainable to do every day because it can really tire you out. And it's just Coach Katelyn inside me saying, just please make sure that you do run your easy days really easy because it is an important part of training that you don't want to skip. Right? Because if you're running all of your days kind of hard, then you're not going to have that really important variety and the stressing of the different systems to be able to improve as efficiently as possible. So I would just say, don't skip that just because you can't work on your cadence. Take your easy days easy and maybe don't even look at your cadence at all so it doesn't stress you out and just think more about like, okay, I want to make sure that I have a low heart rate, or if you don't use heart rate, which I use much more RPE, don't think about your heart rate, but think about, okay, can I have a conversation really comfortably on these easy days? So I would say they're very different. The cadence is more of a form thing to focus on, where the run slow to run fast is more of a training method. So two very different things, and they can both be used, but the run slow to run fast is important.
I would almost say if I had to make a choice, I would say worry less about the cadence. And in fact, the cadence obsession could get you in trouble down the line, because could be forcing you to run quicker than you need to be running.
Right.
And it could lead to injury, ironically, given the fact that trying to focus on cadence, the whole idea is it's supposed to like fix your form or help your form and like keep you from getting injured. So there's an irony in that. I would focus more on what is the purpose. I feel like I need to have this sign on my door before I go out because it's the question I ask myself. We should if one day we properly open like an online shop on our site and we're selling merch, we should have the like, what is the purpose of this run sign that you can put on your door above your door as you're walking out the door.
It's a good one.
What is the purpose of this run?
Mm-hmm.
The other merch idea that we spitballed before we hit record in the pod was the T-shirt that just says "Running Sicko" on it, which
Yes.
I think we will actually do.
I loved it because I got a comment on YouTube after my 100-mile podcast with Thomas, the conversation I had with Thomas, and I loved it because it was something along the lines of, "Oh, the real sickos are in the wild," and I was like, "Yes, that's amazing! I want to steal that for a T-shirt."
That'll be our trail variant that we come up with, and it'll be the summer exclusive, the summer limited edition.
I love it.
Yes, put your pre-orders in now for the Running Sicko shirt. Okay, so. Yeah, I would lean more towards what is the purpose of your run, focus on the purpose of that run, and don't freak out about your cadence so much. Unless you feel like you're injuring yourself with the style of running,
right.
Particularly if you're more new to running, then you can start thinking about form a little bit more before you form perhaps not great habits. Okay, so next question. I'm going to get to a couple more here to honor those that got the questions in under the mailbag deadline for the fall mailbag here. And these are great. Okay, so Richard has a pain cave question.
Love those.
Yes. And he's asking about sort of the condo pain cave versus the the semi-detached house pain cave versus the McMansion pain cave. If I can use a weird real estate analogy here. Yeah. So
you've been watching some Property Brothers, or what's going on here?
Exactly. It's like those two twin guys. One's got the beard. What happens when the guy with the beard doesn't want the beard anymore? That's my question about the Property Brothers.
They shift, but they don't tell anybody.
Shift. One guy shaves and the other guy
one guy
doesn't.
Grows the beard. They go in hiatus for a month and they come back and what are their names? There's a Jonathan, I think. They switch identities.
So, do you think they ever do episodes where like the other guy is actually like they flip and they don't tell anybody, and you're watching and you're like, the guy who's the contractor handyman is actually the real estate guy, and then you know what I mean? Do you ever think
if I were them, I would try to pull it off and see if anyone. I wouldn't want to be their client for that meeting, but
you're like, why is this guy suck so bad at contracting? It's like, what was that Disney movie where there's like the twins and
The Parent Trap.
Parent Trap.
Lindsay Lohan as a child. Well, that was the second. Remake. That was a good remake. That was a great movie. Yeah.
Yes. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I want to see Property Brothers Parent Trap edition. Wow. Okay. We got down a weird rabbit hole here. Okay. So pain caves.
Yes. Sorry, Richard. Sorry.
Yeah. Whew. Okay. We're back. So to paraphrase Richard here, he is curious about, we've talked about the pain cave before. I think, the pain cave is something that is, been made famous, at least within ultra trail running, by Courtney Dauwalter, the GOAT of ultra trail running, because she has talked quite a bit about going into the pain cave and making yourself comfortable, making yourself at home, making a cup of tea, sitting in the pain cave sofa, and not wanting to stay there as too long and get too uncomfortably comfortable. So, our guy Richard here is asking, he's very accustomed to running 5Ks. Okay. So he's familiar with that acute pain of the 5K. And he's been running for quite a while now. He did a lot of running in his 40s. I believe he's in his 60s now. And he's now thinking about trying to qualify for Boston. So he's running more halves and marathons. And he is going to try to take an assault on the Boston Marathon qualifying time for his age group coming up. And he needs to kind of wrap his head around the difference in pain from a 5K type acute pain to, I think he's concerned that the pain cave one enters when one goes into the marathon cave is just like the 5K pain cave, but for like 3+ hours.
That would be impossible to sustain.
Which, if that were the case, I would never, ever run a marathon again. So, Alex, we'll start with you because you're our 5K pain cave specialist. You have a beautiful pain cave, I got to say. It's really nice. I like the artwork. I like the decor. I think Alexis must have helped you with that.
She has. We've been working on it for years. So It's Richard.
Yes.
Richard, why would you want an old crummy Alex Sear answer when you could have an Eliud Kipchoge answer? But you're in luck.
Oh, nice.
Because I have one for you. It's not the answer you want, but it's an answer anyway. So
yeah, right.
We actually met Eliud Kipchoge in a hotel conference room that fit about maybe 12 people, and we were people 13 and 14. I don't think we were invited there. It was during Nike's Breaking 4 attempt with Faith Kipyegon.
Yep.
And there were many journalists and influencers in the area to drum up some interest for Kipyegon's sub-4 attempt. And a few hours beforehand, they had Kipchoge come out at this nearby hotel and address us all. But I guess that after the talk, there was another little event with Kipchoge for select guests, which included the CEO of The Atlantic, a couple very high-profile influencers, and not us, but we managed to sneak into the room, and I got a question in. It was a little Q&A with the GOAT, the Kipper. And my question was, what do you really think is harder, a mile or a marathon? And he hesitated. He didn't have an answer right away. He thought about it.
He did hesitate. You caught him off guard, and his the look in his eye was a look of quiet panic. It was like you threw the Kipper off. He's like,
He did the thing where I don't think, can you repeat the question to bide himself some extra time, I think.
Yeah, and eventually the wheels turning. He's like, what do I say? What do I say?
Yeah, because, Kipchoge, long before being the marathon GOAT, was a track and field runner who's done some miles and some 5Ks, and he remembers both types of pain. And eventually, he did say that the marathon is harder. But for anyone who's run a mile, a 5K, 10K, half marathon, full marathon, they realize that as the distance goes up, the pain takes longer to settle in. That was a really nice surprise for me too, because I kind of thought the same as you, Richard, before doing a half marathon. I thought, oh God, this is going to feel like a 10K, but it's going to be twice as long and this is going to be awful. Not the case. And not the case, the longer you go, it's also not the case. You will spend more time running that race feeling weirdly comfortable. Now, I would guess that when talking about pain caves for the marathon, you're not only alluding to how much it hurts while running a 5K, which is an intense VO2 max style burn. And if you do a 5K right, you're destroyed at the end of it. It's not really that. The pain cave is different, right? It's Michael or Katelyn, how would you describe the pain cave of the marathon in relation to the short-lived burning intensity of the pain cave of a 5K?
First of all, I would run a marathon gladly over running a 5K, which sounds psychotic and really weird, but I like running an all-out 5K to the peak of my potential versus running an all-out marathon to the peak of my potential. If I'm well trained in both, I am less comfortable with that VO2 max absolute debt sufferfest you go into almost instantly. Certainly after, I'd say, the first 2 to 3 minutes of the 5K, you start to go into this what's sort of generally described as lactate hell. And I hate that feeling and I fear that feeling. Whereas the marathon is this sort of slow build, and the first half should feel pretty good. You should feel like if you're well trained and you're ready to go and you've done the work, it should feel very comfortable, very aerobic, very almost easy. If you've tapered right, carb loaded, the whole bit. It's really the last 10K where it's a challenge. And it's a slow burn. It's a slow disintegration where if you've not paced it correctly, you're really going to start to suffer quite a bit. But if you've paced it correctly, it's basically just turns into a very subtle mind over matter kind of game where you can hold yourself on pace. It's just going to take some mental fortitude, some will, some strategizing on your part, the mantras, the power of positive thinking, all these things Kipchoge is sort of famous for talking about as well. all applies to the marathon. It's just like a dull struggle. It's not acute and horrible. Fair enough. That's a good.
Yeah, that sounds really good. Mm-hmm.
So I would say,
True.
Richard, embrace the subtle suck of the marathon. As long as you do all the training correctly and you get your volume up nicely, you do a nice number of long runs, you follow a plan, you have peaks and valleys in your training so you can recover and adapt and get fitter and faster. Do some strength training because you're in your 60s. It's a good idea. Maybe some cross training if you find running every day too demanding, and you will get to that place where hopefully you can BQ. I will say one thing. Richard's name is Richard Curtis. Richard Curtis, I don't know if you're the same Richard Curtis or not, but Richard Curtis is a filmmaker and a screenwriter who wrote one of my all-time favorite films. So if you're the same Richard Curtis, thank you, sir, for writing. This is going to surprise everybody here. Notting Hill, one of the greatest films ever made.
Whoa.
Oh.
Yeah.
And
Four Weddings and a Funeral. Guy's a legend. If this is the same Richard Curtis, very common name. Richard Curtis, if you're not the same Richard, we still love you.
we still, you're still cool, man.
You're still cool. Still cool. And go for that BQ, man. Okay. So next one. Last two. I'm going to wrap this up here. These are two. This is some CanCon for you. Some Canadian content. Okay. So this is Adam in Vancouver. He says, big fan of the podcast. He's been listening on Spotify. And the three of you are a big part of my Thursdays, which...
Yay.
Yeah, like super heartwarming to hear that somebody's like listening to our podcast on Thursdays when it drops. Or maybe watching, because you can watch on Spotify as well. Okay, so he's 32, lives in Vancouver. He's run a couple of two marathons now. Both times being the Vancouver Marathon, which takes place in May. Very beautiful race, by the way. Recommended. Hilly, challenging, but very picturesque. Vancouver is a great running town. First race was in May of 2024. 3:35 he ran. Then he ran in this past May in 2025. He drastically improved to a 3:05. Huge jump in a year.
Huge.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So well done.
He's So Adam's been doing some work here. Very exciting. Next race, this is great. Honolulu Marathon in December. Initially, I thought it was a good idea because I could easily convince my non-runner wife to let me use some of our valuable vacation time to enter a race, since it will be in one of our favorite vacation spots.
You're probably not the only one who does this, Adam.
But this is a hack that can come back to haunt you.
True.
Yeah. Once you're like,
very good.
It's Thursday and the marathon's on Sunday and that hike sounds really beautiful, but I think I'm going to just watch a movie in the hotel. Yeah.
That's not going to fly.
Yeah. No. So he's kind of got two questions going on here. One is that although he's been training throughout the summertime, the bulk of his marathon specific training takes place throughout the fall in beautiful, cool Vancouver. And that he's going to suddenly thrust himself into higher temperatures and humidity levels than what he is prepared for. He says, I am starting to doubt whether or not this is a race where I can run my personal best.
Mm-hmm.
That's one thing. Put a pin in that. His question is that he's starting to plan for 2026. And he's considering the Toronto Waterfront Marathon in October of 2026, and a year from now. His understanding is that it's flat and fast. It's a good race to pursue a Boston qualifying time of 2 hours and 55 minutes. Does this sound like a good idea? Is there anything I need to be aware of with this specific race? Any tips and advice you would offer someone who has never traveled for a race before? So we can say off the top, in our last episode, in the mailbag episodes, buried in there somewhere in the 2+ hours that we talked, we covered how to approach a travel or destination race, provided our thoughts on that. I would say go back and look for the times, because it's timestamped. So you can find in the timestamp chapters when we talk about traveling to a marathon, and we had a bunch of recommendations there. I would say I've run the Toronto Waterfront Marathon before. Alex, you've run the half. We are intimately aware of the event, of the course. We've run the course 1,000 times. We're covering Toronto this fall. We're going to do a lot of content around. Katelyn's coming up for the week. It's going to be rad. Toronto is a flat course. Toronto is a fast course. Toronto, you can run a Boston qualifying time on. I would say only things to be aware of are there is a prevailing wind you have to be mindful of, and sometimes there's a little bit of wind off the lake because you run right by the lake, hence the waterfront title. And it can get a little lonely in the second half. That's very common amongst marathons, second half of the race. So just be prepared for that. But apart from that, you're going to have a lot of running colleagues to run with in that 255 zone in that race, I would say. So highly recommend that. Good. It's a good pick, I would say. For the more immediate pressing issues that Adam is facing with heat and humidity in Honolulu, what do you guys think?
Like Costa Rica, let me tell you, from being here.
Similar, right? Similar.
Yeah. So with the heat and humidity, and I think I just had to deal with this with two of my athletes who ran Berlin. And when we heard what the weather was going to be, and, in Hawaii, it's going to be even hotter and more humid, I'm sure. I'm not 100% sure what the weather is in December. But if you are going to face a lot more heat and humidity than you're used to training in, you do have to adjust your expectations a little bit. And you can't be really bummed out if the heat and humidity affect you, because they will. They almost always affect the times, because it's just you slow down when it gets really hot and humid. So I think that you have to, figure out what the weather will be and just kind of go into that marathon saying like, I'm going to have an amazing time. I mean, it's Hawaii. I've seen photos. It looks absolutely incredible. So I would just say maybe go with the expectation of I'm going to run the best marathon that I can, but I can't be super disappointed if it's a little slower because of the heat and humidity.
Yes.
But I just want to have a really great time, enjoy it. And then you already have this really great goal to whittle down that 3:05 or to go for your Boston qualifying time. And as Michael just said, that is a course to run your PR. So I would say I would look at it like that.
Temper expectations without taking yourself out of the race. I think that's kind of the funny mental thing that you're playing with.
Right.
And like try to think about that before, because you do want to not disappoint yourself. You don't want to go out too hard and then screw up your race. You want to be conscious of the elements, but also like perfect days happen, man. And I do think
Never know.
Yes, you should get to the race and with the intention to, Katelyn just said it, do the very best that you can that day. And then, God's sakes, spend time with your wife after the race, okay?
Yes. Oh, my goodness. Yes. A couple of nice dinners, kind of whatever it is she's interested in. Yeah, exactly. It's hilarious. I pitched going to Hawaii because we love going there. And it's like, I'm just going to sneak in a little race. She's going to figure that one out pretty quickly. Or it's like, well, this kind of sucks traveling with a runner. Okay, last one here. This comes from Patrick in Toronto. So continuing our Canadian content here to close things out. So he started running at the young age of 48 in the spring of 2023. He joined a group here in Toronto called High Park Rogue Runners. See what they did there? Rogue
I like
runners.
that.
Yeah. Big group, nice, good group. Does his long runs and some workout sessions with them. Last spring, 2024, I ran my first full marathon, and my time was 3:42. And then in the fall, he ran the Toronto Waterfront Marathon and wasn't prepared at all. I ran 3:47. He was disappointed, and could have done better. In the spring of 2025, he came back and ran 3:27, which is great.
Nice.
Totally happy. Much more room to improve, he feels. After listening to us taking on the question from Liam in London, if you remember, who is working towards that Boston qualifying time and is running the Lisbon Marathon this fall, if I am not mistaken.
Alliteration. Liam, London, Lisbon. That's how I remember it.
I want to get to a BQ from a fall race. My age group BQ time is 3 hours, 20 minutes. I want to get to sub 315 for obvious reasons because of that
Mhm.
buffer with the Boston qualifying times being actually faster than the times they publish typically.
Right.
Do you think I can achieve it? My training program I signed up for is on Runna, the AI app. And it currently says that I can run an estimated 316. My workouts include tempos and intervals, and so far it's going well. However, how important is it that my heart rate be at a certain spot? My average for my last marathon was 158, which is in the upper end of my aerobic zone. Appreciate your thoughts. Keep making great podcasts. Okay, so he is kind of in the Liam zone, right? Where it's like he's just on the edge, although I would be cautious about what Runna is predicting. I'd say use a couple of other methods of prediction in order to see what they are suggesting as well.
Time trial.
Katelyn loves a time trial.
I love you. You guys know me. I love a time trial.
Great idea.
Yeah. He could run a time trial and sort of, I presume that he is planning on running perhaps the Toronto Marathon again, Waterfront Marathon in a couple of weeks. So he might be coming up against it in terms of like doing a time trial safely, and also has probably just run some peak mileage, so is probably fairly fatigued. If you've run a recent race, Patrick, or you could just plug in some numbers into various race calculators. I would use a few different ones. The Macmillan calculator, we have a calculator on our site. Use the Jack Daniels VDOT calculator. Look at if you've got a running watch, look at what the watch says as well, although those can be wacky predictions, as well as Runna, and you can kind of triangulate where you're at. Don't try to force something, because what happens is you try to go out and run 315 and you're more in sort of like 322 shape, you'll run a 328 because you'll fall apart and you'll struggle in the last 10 kilometers. So I would say run where you're really at. Don't get obsessed with hitting the number. Be patient. There's all, like work towards that goal. That would be my recommendation. Thoughts?
I agree. I'm not very bullish on AI predictions for runners. Like, I'm in a big group chat and we all compare what the AI prediction tool says and then what we actually run, kind of as a running joke, because it never knows what it's talking about. There's such a thing as training at predictive paces, and Runna probably recommends you do that. And if you're doing so and you feel like you're supposed to feel in your workouts, 8 out of 10 effort on your tough days, for example, that's good, and it probably approximates something. But I agree with Michael. You do need a bit more than just that to zero in on a pace.
Yeah, I would say so. Katelyn?
Yeah, I completely agree. I take everything that AI says with a grain of salt, and even with the predictors, like Garmin predictors. And I know we've spoken about this in past podcasts, but like my Garmin predictor actually says that I should run a slower time than I actually have run in the marathon, which makes no sense whatsoever because it should have the information of my marathon.
You're not the first person to tell me that. It's
really?
You're like, I literally just ran this time and it's telling me that I can only do 7 minutes slower than that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
you've just run a marathon. Now you can run the marathon at this time. It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. So I just always take all of that with a grain of salt. And I guess, if you're asking us on the fall marathon and you're probably coming up on it really soon, then you might not have time to go take that time trial like Michael's saying. If you're still a ways out and it's a much later, I don't know if it's like, does he mention which marathon it is? No. Right. So if it's something else, if it's like a winter almost marathon in Valencia or something, you do have time to take another test and just kind of see where you are. And if not, like Michael mentioned, maybe a more recent race, maybe you ran a half marathon during the training program or 10K here and there. If you did something like that, or you just did one really fast run that you can kind of take that time, plug it in, see what that says. And also try to feel it out. Know what those paces have been during your training. See where your heart rate was when you were running that predicted marathon pace at that 315 or at that 320, and really see if that was comfortable and that's something that you feel like would be possible, or if you feel like you might fall apart. I know I've had training seasons where I've done a time trial. I've gotten the predicted pace. And even then, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to do this. Like, I feel like I'm dying during the training runs. And so I need to humbly step back and say, no, I'm not ready for this. I need to take it down a notch because I don't want my race to completely blow up. So I would kind of really feel out where your fitness is. And if you're ready, go for it. But if you don't feel like you're quite there yet and you're more like in the 320 range, then just, take your time with it. Have fun. We'll be able to do more marathons.
Yeah. And to the point about heart rate, his heart rate's around 158 in the upper end overall average. I mean, that's high-ish, but when it's surprising how high her overall heart rate is in a marathon, particularly if you're well trained, you can kind of exist in that upper zone overall for quite a while. I mean, elite, East African athletes like John Career in Boston. I remember he posted his data, and I was really surprised by how high his heart rate was the entire race. Of course, this is like one of the greatest marathoners alive right now. So, but I will say that if you're well trained, if you're following a program, you're doing that work, and I wouldn't be so freaked out over as long as you're comfortable in that first half of the marathon. I would say maybe even like if you're really stuck on trying to get to this 315 area, and I get it, you want to qualify for Boston. It's a huge tantalizing goal. It's like, you've made it to the top of the mountain when you get to Boston, right? It's amazing. I get it. And you can get there. Just set yourself up for success. Like maybe pace it out with a very slight negative split in mind so that you've got the wiggle room to adjust and control yourself in the first 20, 25, 30 kilometers of the race. And you don't feel like you're constantly like at the limit or like closer to your threshold pace than you want to be at. All right. Patrick, good luck. And let us know how it goes. We want to know how it goes. And if you're running Toronto, we're going to be in Toronto. So track us down. I think we're going to do a live podcast in Toronto at the Waterfront Marathon. So if you're in Toronto, let us know. And we're going to be doing I think we're doing the live podcast actually at the expo on the floor at some point.
Cool.
I believe on the Saturday. We've not locked the time in yet, but we're definitely we're doing a whole bunch of stuff with the Toronto Waterfront Marathon people and the good people at ASICS. So we're super excited about that. Okay, subscribe to our newsletter. Goes out every day of the week. Subscribe we'll put a link in the show notes, marathonhandbook.com/newsletter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel because we're putting out stuff all the time, not just podcasts, all sorts of different stuff. Alex's shoe reviews, all sorts of different video essays. Katelyn's got some great tutorial videos on like how to run different time-based goals in different distances.
I think the sub 2 hour half is coming out this week. So that'll be a new one. Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
And then going to Chicago, let us know if you want to meet up. We've got some special stuff planned. We're trying to zero in on a location so we could do a venue, so we could do a live version of the pod. We will have our preview episode up next week. And then I think we're going to do another special episode in Chicago. Let us know, podcast at marathonhandbook.com if you want to join us. That would be super fun. And I'll see you guys on the ground in Chicago next week.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait.
This is coming fast.
We always have a great time together.
Chicago, Toronto, New York, running event. It's all
San Antonio, it's happening.
Yeah. All right, gang. Till next week.
Till
See you
then.
later.